Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is me, the main man. Well, I'm gonna hop on this train hopefully before it dies and talk about the first couple times consuming the za. Now, please don't take this as a bash or a scare story on this magical substance, but my first experiences with it were less than desirable, and I figured I'd come on here and share them with all of you. So, the first one I don't actually remember because it happened around the age of 4. Now, I know how that sounds, but before you judge me or my parents, please just listen. So, at the time, I was living with my aunt, mom, uncle, and cousin. All of the adults had to work, and my cousin went to camp or pre K or something of that sort. So, I was home alone, and my uncle left the earliest, then my mom, and finally my aunt because she cleaned condos. So, after my mom, uncle left, it was me and my aunt for about an hour. But before she left, she had made a plate of brownies. And it's worth mentioning that they were vegan, so they often had food that tastes a little off, but it still tasted pretty good. So she told me not to eat those specific brownies after she left. But me, I just thought that it might have been a little gross or something like that. So as soon as she left, I decided to try one. Tasted a little bit funny, but I was still hungry, so I ate about 5 or 6 of them. After that, I sat on the couch and played the same level of Indiana Jones on my Wii for like 7 hours. I obviously don't remember much, but my aunt, retelling the story to me years later, said that she found me dead asleep on the couch, wrapped in 3 blankets, with the Wii remote in my hands. Safe to say I was booted. The next story is about the first time I can actually remember. This story occurred when I went over to my friend JJ's house on one of my dune buggies I had at the time. He offered me a special Rice Krispie treat if you're picking up what I'm putting down. You could say, he said if I let him drive my go kart, then he would let me have one of his special Rice Krispies. And I was like, sure, man, go ahead. And I let him take it around the block a few times, and he gave me the Rice Krispie treat. Well, I came home and I was sitting in the back of the truck on the way to a spring by my house where I go swimming, and I unwrapped it and I ate it without my mom noticing. And I was stupid, so I decided I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat the whole thing, but I don't know much about it at this time. So I ate the entire thing, which was pretty much a big mistake. So for about an hour and a half at Big Blue, I was just chilling, jumping off the tree, going off the rope swing, doing kid shit. But then, on the walk back from Big Blue, I looked at the floor and everything just felt a little off. But I was still okay at the time. My eyes were a little droopy, but that's about it. I remember once we got in the truck, my vision starting to kind of have a black ring around it. It almost dissipated, but when I got home, it was very pronounced. And I had a sub from Subway sitting on the table, and I was like, you know what would be super good right now? My Subway from like 2 days ago. So I ate my Subway sandwich, and I had to talk to my mom for a few minutes, which I was okay because I doubt that she would really care. But then I went to my room, and my grandma would not stop talking, and it was a really weird conversation. This is about the time that it gave me a panic attack, or you could say I just screamed out. This next time is about when I went to visit my older brother. He and my sister and her husband were smoking in the garage of my grandma's house. Once my sister and her husband left, it was just me and my brother. And he said, if you want to hit the bong, you can. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to make you either. I had already had the previous bad experience with the substance, but at this point I said fuck it and ripped it. And I remember I hit it once and I didn't cough at all. And my brother was like, damn, you took that like a champ. But then the second time I hit it like way harder. And I started coughing a lot, and then I heard my own voice and it sounded really high pitched, probably from the lack of oxygen. And I was chilling and having fun for about 10 minutes, but then my grandparents, who were supposed to pick me up in about 2 hours, said they were going to be there in 20 minutes. So I started freaking out. But my brother, being a great big brother, he took me to the bathroom, gave me eye drops, told me to lay down. I laid down for a little, and then he made me run to the convenience store around the corner and chug a Monster, which made me feel a lot better. My grandparents asked if I was okay, and I said I was just missing my dad, but really I was booted off my ass. I sat in the back of the van listening to music, and I fell asleep. Once I woke up, I was big chillin'. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a couple times scattered in between these where I had a lot of fun and enjoyed myself. But that isn't what y'all want to hear. The next story is about what happens when you mix Mary Jane with a hot tub. Spoiler alert, it's not a good mix. So this story is going to need some backstory, and it all started one day after school when I went to Wendy's, and my friend, let's call him Dylan. Dylan and me the year before had a lot of problems. He was kind of an asshole to me, but I also kind of deserved it because I was an annoying little shit. But since then I've matured a lot, and this year him and me were talking after school at Wendy's, and he said that he wanted to smoke with me. And I told him that I have a tendency to green out, and if I'm not in the right state of mind, I told him I could stay the night at his house, and I would. So the night of the basketball game, me and him make a plan to stay the night. I went to stay the night at his house, and he pulled out something called a moon rock. Let's just say the moon rock had a little kick to it, and for the first part of the night, I was chilling. And we went to the basketball game, and I was just sitting there watching the basketball game, really into it, just enjoying myself. Then once we left, I was like, "You want to go back to my house?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I told my other friends, let's call them Caden and JJ from before. JJ is a big stoner, and Caden smokes a little bit, but not often. This particular night, JJ had to leave early, and it was just Caden, me, and Dylan in the hot tub. Dylan pulled out a bowl filled with the moon rock, and we were passing it around. I hit it like twice, as hard as I could, and then they said I acted like I was tripping on shrooms. I just kept seeing things inside my mind with my eyes closed in the hot tub. But once I finally decided to get out, I stood up and walked out in the cold air, and I just puked everywhere. There's a video, and I just stepped over my puke and walked off into the distance. All in all, the only bad thing I can say about this is it all depends on when you decide to do it and if you're in the right state of mind. But I wouldn't have all these stories to tell you if it wasn't for this substance. I personally enjoy it, and generally I'm not trying to bash it or hate on it, as I said in the beginning. But do be mindful with the consumption of the Za.